and this is the hobby of mine. This is a hobby of mine, restoring antique radios.
How did you get into restoring antique radios?
Um, it just sort of happened. I was at a flea market one day and I found this old radio and discovered that I had an interest in it, and so I want to restore it, bring it back to life, and hear it sing again.
What's your background? Because it's not something like if I saw one of these radios, I couldn't restore it. So why are you able to?
Well, I have a degree in electrical engineering, but I didn't use any of my electrical engineering know-how to do any of this. This is all sort of I learned on the job.
Everything is self-taught then. You mean you didn't take a class in retro radio re-engineering?
Not at all. Not at all. There's not a whole lot of documentation that's still around on how to do this, and you sort of have to just figure it out.
So what happens if there's a part that you need, but can you always find all the parts that you need?
For the most part, not always. Sometimes I need to fabricate, get creative on modifying a part I do have so it does work with the radio. I'm thinking about knobs. Knobs are sometimes, it's hard to find a good matching knob if one's missing.
So let's go back a little bit and maybe something on like, I can't always find the parts that I need. And, when I can't, then I have to make them myself. Just so that, because we were missing the subject in that one. So, can you always find the parts that you need?
Not always. For the most part, anything that's inside the radio, I can find a replacement for. It's the exterior. It's the cabinets, the knobs, any of the unique external parts and logos are sometimes hard to find.
And I mean, there is something that all of these radios do look different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you and I were talking about this, that in a way, like all of them has their own unique personality. Yeah.
Absolutely. Every single radio, for me at least, it speaks to me from decades ago. I see the time, I see the period, and I reminisce. With the discovery of every radio, I'm sort of taken back myself.
I mean, and so when you look at them, like, do you think that they all kind of have their own personality?
They absolutely do. And
can we go back, like, kind of like every radio definitely has its own personality?
Every radio definitely has its own personality.
And is that something that's with the outside design, or is it in how it sounds?
Both. For the most part, I'm attracted to the looks of each radio and how they're reminiscent of cars and clothing and furniture from the same time period. The colors just speak, the decade from where it originated. And sometimes the design elements, Art Deco versus mid-century versus industrial post-war, are entirely differentiated between radios.
So, as far as colors, what are some common colors that you see in these older radios? Because we were saying nowadays, like, clock radios are typically black.
Yeah. It seems like in the 50s they just couldn't get enough turquoise and pink. So if you had a radio and you made it pink and turquoise, you probably could sell it, from what I can tell. And also, some of the forest greens and a lot of the industrial beiges and browns seem to be very popular.
Why do you think there are so many different designs?
I think it's because the manufacturers wanted to sell their product, and the only way to do so is if they came up with the latest trends in the designs, colors, the grill, the clock face, whatever they could do to sell more product. So nothing has changed in that regard.
Yeah, true. Let's talk a little bit about the sound. Like, when you do get these working, what does this radio sound like compared to a clock radio I can buy at Bed Bath & Beyond?
Right. So it's a